Hi, welcome to the Interaxis channel. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about why I get excited when I see news items, when I see news about on-chain payments. When I say on-chain payments, this is when I start talking about mainly stable coins, but announcements like Visa processing USDC on Solana, announcements like PayPal having its own stable coin, announcements like Shopify starting to utilize USDC or other stable coins. Why I get so excited about this, and it's not just because I want more people to transact, it's so many different levels beyond that. So I wanted to explain why I get excited, what it means for the ecosystem, what it means for financial professionals, and to do that I have to go back a little bit to how transactions usually work and what we're trying to do here with crypto, blockchain, DeFi to make those processes a little bit better. So first, let's go with the always proverbial cup of coffee. All right, so right now, if Adam goes to a coffee shop and I want to buy a cup of coffee, and we'll say it costs $5, what happens? Well, I might put down my credit card and my debit card. They give me the coffee. Okay, they get my $5. Okay, we'll say that I buy $5 coffee, which I usually don't, but they get my $5. Now, what actually happens in the background, remember, is my credit card company, the bank that processes my credit card, agrees to pay this coffee shop $5. Now, you know that they might not get that money for anywhere from 2 to 5 days, depending on whether or not this happens on a weekend. And when that happens, it's going to go into their bank account, and it's going to come from my credit card company. Then at some point, I got to pay my credit card bill, right? So from my bank, the dollars that are in my bank have to go to pay my credit card company. This is everything that had to happen to get me this $5 cup of coffee that I wanted just because I was feeling a little tired today. That's a whole lot. That's a whole lot of fees. It's a whole lot of friction. Because remember, the coffee shop is not going to get this entire $5. They're going to get the $5 minus the processing fee they pay to the credit cards companies. And then once it hits their bank in anywhere from 2 to 5 days, if they're lucky, then they're going to have to utilize it. They're going to pay payroll. They're going to pay their suppliers. They're going to pay their people. They're going to pay for their goods, all of those things. I, of course, have had this money sitting in my bank, and it might be 30 days or more before I pay my credit card off to pay for that cup of coffee. If I'm running a credit card balance, then I'm going to have to, of course, I'm going to owe interest on this $5 cup of coffee. That's a whole lot to happen in order for this $5 cup of coffee, a whole lot of fees, a whole lot of friction. In the meantime, this bank has a lot of control. This credit card processor has a lot of control. This bank has a lot of control. Now, I'm not totally against banks. I'm not totally against control. There's a reason why we have to outsource our trust to them to process those payments. There's a reason why we've always had to. But now we'll get into why I get excited when I see Visa is maybe processing payments using USDC, when I see PayPal USD, when I see Shopify using USDC, when I see other merchants being able to process using USDC or using stable coins, and even when I see more applications that allow me to either on-ramp or off-ramp using crypto. So a little bit of why I get excited. Let's go through this transaction again, assuming that we can use a wallet or assuming we can use USDC. Now, I go in to get my coffee from the coffee shop, but instead of using a credit card to pay for this, I might use, let's just say for fun, I use a debit card, but that debit card maybe is a Visa that processes using USDC. And let's say that debit card is attached to my wallet. Now, if you don't know what a wallet is essentially how we keep track of our assets on a blockchain or in the crypto world. And it means that basically I have an account, and that account says, here's what Adam has. But a wallet is usually not tied to a bank. It is something that I 100% control and tells me exactly what I have at that moment. Somewhat akin to a bank account, but it's a little bit different in that I have total control over it. So my debit card is attached to my wallet. It's going to pull, in this case, USDC. So now, let's say we're going to use a Visa to process this transaction, but it's going to be processed using USDC. USDC is US dollar coin. It's basically a stable coin. It's worth $1, and it's backed by dollar or dollar equivalents. So the coffee shop will get, in this case, USDC. Now, here's where a lot of things are different. One, we pulled directly from my crypto wallet where I might be holding US dollar coin. US dollar coin, again, is worth $1. Now, the coffee shop, instead of having to wait 2 to 5 days, this transaction is going to settle virtually instantaneously. So after I get the coffee, I've paid within about 15 seconds if it's on Ethereum, within milliseconds if it's on Solana, the coffee shop is going to have their money in hand. They don't have to wait 2 to 5 days. They don't have to wait over the weekend, anything like that. Transaction is 100% settled. Okay, that's a big change. Now, what happens from my side is this means that I can keep more of my assets in my crypto wallet. That is attractive to me. Why? Because it means that I have more chance to have those assets maybe earning some interest or earning some yield while sitting there. There are applications, there are protocols that I can use to have my money earning, say, 4 or 5% in a safe way. Whereas when I go to use them, it'll just pull from whatever that protocol is where it's earning 4 to 5% and pay for my coffee. And that way, instead of my money sitting in the bank earning nothing, it might be sitting in my wallet earning 4 to 5%, getting ready for me to pay for something. And as soon as I pay for something, I don't have to go from my wallet to a bank account to then go pay for my coffee. It just goes straight through to pay for it. Okay, so I get to earn some interest. That's really nice for me. The coffee shop gets their money right away. They don't have to wait. They likely don't have to pay very high fees to Visa to process because this transaction doesn't cost very much. You're not going through a bunch of intermediaries. You're not connecting a bunch of banks to do this. This is all done what we call on-chain, right? It happens virtually instantaneously and it's transparent. The coffee shop gets their USDC. Now, why else am I excited about this besides the fact that the coffee shop gets their money more quickly? What does that do? Well, now the coffee shop has USDC or US dollar coin. They might say, you know what? We don't need to necessarily convert this to a bank account. We might be able to start paying things like payroll directly from here. We might be able to pay some of our suppliers, especially if they can be processed using Visa or PayPal or something like that, in a way that maybe the payroll or maybe the suppliers actually get dollars or get fiat currency because it's exchanged in the background. So that means that the coffee shop gets paid immediately. Maybe they can pay their payroll in USDC. Maybe their employees want to get it that way. Maybe they can pay their suppliers that way. Maybe they want to get it that way. Okay, and so this creates this, what I call the ultimate on-ramp, ultimate off-ramp. The ultimate on-ramp is for the coffee shop. They now have crypto assets. They now have a stable coin, something that's worth $1, hopefully, stored on a wallet in a very safe way like they would a bank account. They might get this is how they on-ramp. They don't have to go to a bank and convert dollars to USDC. They just have USDC by virtue of the fact that they produced a cup of coffee for me. The ultimate off-ramp for me is I don't have to go through a bank either. I can go straight from my crypto wallet through paying for coffee to the coffee shop. They now have their USDC on chain. I used my USDC that was on chain. Again, potentially the coffee shop now has an easy way to pay their payroll, to pay their suppliers using USDC because they didn't have to go to a bank and convert fiat currency to USDC and maybe wait 7 days and maybe go through all those hoops. They can just go straight from, I bought my coffee. They can immediately pay their people if they have to. They can immediately pay payroll. They can immediately pay suppliers. And I'm not even getting into things like streaming payments to payroll through payroll or streaming payments to suppliers. I'm just talking about they can pay directly on chain. What that also means is when they pay their payroll, this is settled immediately also. This is not, I pay my people on Friday, and due to the fact that I gave them a check, they might not have the money in their account until Tuesday. This is, I pay them, they have their money in their account immediately. I pay my suppliers, this settles immediately. The other reason I'm excited about this is now that they have USDC on chain, they might want to participate in some sort of protocol. So one, they might be able to earn some sort of interest on their money. So they might say, look, we don't have to pay our suppliers for another 10 days. We don't have to pay our payroll for another 10 days. We can have this money earn some interest. Again, they can get 4 to 5% right now very safely on chain without having to jump through a bunch of hoops. So they might say, look, anytime there's money in here, we're going to automatically start earning interest on it until such time as we have to pay these people. So instead of having to pay 2.5 or 3.5% to process a credit card transaction. They get that money immediately and it's earning for them. The other part is, as we've seen on sites and through companies like Shopify and Stripe and elsewhere, I can get loans. So for myself, from my Shopify account, from my Stripe account, I can go get a loan right now and I would pay interest for that. Well, these people might have access to this coffee shop now, might go, look, we need a little bit of money because we have a marketing program we want to run, but we need to borrow $5,000 right now. And we're sure that we will get enough people in the door to pay that loan back. So they might go to some DeFi protocol now that they're on chain, and borrow the 5,000 USDC from a DeFi protocol. And instead of having to go to a bank or pay some exorbitant amount of interest to get that, and instead of having to fill out a bunch of applications, they can just connect their wallet, say, look, we're good for this. We have enough collateral. Bam, they get 5,000 USDC. Of course, they're going to have to pay it back with some interest, but the interest rate is likely lower, and they can pay it back directly from the people paying for coffee. They can actually potentially stream that payment back to pay for it. So now they get to participate in the ecosystem. That brings me to even more excitement, because what that means is, one, if we look at the broader ecosystem, let's say that these, remember, Visa is settling these with Solana USDC, and the token for the Solana ecosystem is the Sol token. More and more transactions, if more people are utilizing, the Visa, USDC, Solana using Visa to process transactions, that means theoretically the value of the Solana network grows, and therefore the value of the Sol token goes up. So beyond just what this means for my ability to pay for my coffee, it means that potentially the value of this network goes up, and maybe the value of the token goes up. And we're just learning how the value of networks translates to the value of the token for that network. What it also means is more use cases for these protocols, where I'm either lending money, I'm depositing and earning interest, or I'm borrowing money. More use cases for these protocols. That means that potentially this increases value for these protocols. Again, we're not quite sure how value is going to accrue to these tokens, how value is going to accrue to these protocol tokens like here, how value is going to accrue to these layer one tokens like this. We're not quite sure, but we want to see that uses. This is exactly what having more users looks like. This is what adoption looks like. It doesn't look like institutions going to buy a whole bunch of Sol or a whole bunch of ETH or a whole bunch of Bitcoin. What it looks like is more and more people actually transacting on the networks. And once I can just pay for something, and once I can use my USDC, my on-chain tokens, and someone else can accept those tokens, then we see the growth of the ecosystem, because now it's not just a bunch of degens, it's not just a bunch of early adopters, it's everyone can participate in the ecosystem. So when I get excited because I see Visa is transacting using USDC, PayPal, Shopify, when I get excited about those things, it's because that's what's going to bring the adoption. And bringing the adoption means value of tokens, it means faster processing, it means transparency, it means the ability to utilize some of the protocols that have been created to disintermediate the systems that are already there that cause a lot of fees and friction. This is why I get excited when I start to see adoption through actual utilization of the network, not just through institutions investing a bunch of money in tokens that represent the network. That's why I get excited, and I wanted to explain it to you here.